This is what Tuesday looks like after celebrity life. 2 years ago, I was negotiating huge deals in Hollywood. And this Tuesday, I stood in my driveway in Arkansas, fully strategizing against a raccoon and a half-eaten tub of Chobani. And the embarrassing part is not that I lost. The embarrassing part is that my body thought the stakes were real. Nobody tells you that when you live a high-pressure life, that the chaos does not always leave with you. Sometimes it just picks a smaller target, like trash day. This is what intentional living looks like when your nervous system is still dressed for war. You think starting over after 50 is going to feel like a clean break, a new chapter, a deep breath. You think choosing a more intentional life means you leave the chaos, move somewhere quiet, and eventually your body gets the memo. Mine did not. The strange part is, I'm not trying to recreate the old life. That is not the problem. I am trying to live this one intentionally. Pay attention to what is actually in front of me. Make choices that are not dictated by panic, performance, or somebody else's emergency. And somehow, my brain is still operating like every Tuesday is a crisis meeting with legal, publicity, and one unstable client on speakerphone. This is where this story lives. In the driveway. With a trash bag, a bungee cord, and a raccoon who has apparently decided that my garbage can is a private members club with poor security. I'm RealityRoxstar, and this is No Big Plans, my series about intentional living after Hollywood, starting over after 50, and rebuilding an ordinary life after the noise stops. Today is about the part of intentional living that nobody makes sound sexy, the Tuesday part. Because once the big life ends, you still have to live the small one. You still have to take the trash out. You still have to walk the trail, and you still have to stand there in broad daylight wondering why a normal chore feels like a covert operation. And if you spent decades being rewarded for urgency, usefulness, crisis management, and staying 3 steps ahead of disaster, your body may not know what to do when the only real threat is a masked animal with yogurt breath. That is the strange thing about intentional living after a high-pressure life. Peace does not always feel peaceful at first. Sometimes peace feels suspicious. Sometimes quiet feels like a setup. And sometimes healing begins with the humiliating realization that you are not actually in danger. You're just taking the trash to the curb. There's a reason nobody writes songs about Tuesday. Monday gets all the hate. Wednesday gets a nickname. Friday gets a personality. Sunday gets an existential crisis, and if you're lucky, a casserole. But Tuesday is just sitting there in the middle of the week wearing beige pants, asking if you remembered to bring the bins down. And this is where intentional living gets rude. Because everybody talks about choosing a more intentional life like it's going to feel cinematic. Like you wake up, stretch in linen, make coffee slowly, and suddenly understand what matters. But some days, intentional living is standing in your driveway, staring at a trash can, trying to decide if this is a normal errand or the first act of a war movie. The whole assignment should have been simple. Bag the trash, tie the bag, move the can, and continue being a grown woman with a functional understanding of proportional response. That was the plan, and for a brief, beautiful second, I believed it. Then, I remembered the yogurt lid. A few days earlier, I found it 12 feet from the bin, licked clean, not abandoned in chaos, placed almost, like evidence left by someone who wanted me to know they had been there. Now, do I have proof a raccoon did this? No. I have evidence. There's a difference. A lid in the wrong place. A bag torn open with surgical confidence. A general sense that someone had been on my property making decisions. That is not enough for a court of law, but it is plenty for a woman with a crisis-trained nervous system and a Tuesday with too much available silence. So now, I'm standing there, trying to live intentionally, trying to pay attention to the actual day in front of me. And the actual day in front of me is Tuesday. Birds, driveway, daylight, a trash bag that needs to make it from one end of the driveway to the other. That's it. Yet somehow, my brain looks at this assignment and says, we're gonna need a plan. This is the part that surprises me. I can know something is ridiculous while I'm doing it. There was a perfectly reasonable adult somewhere inside of me saying, you are tying up garbage. Please lower the DEFCON level. But there was another part of me, the part that used to handle calls and contracts and budgets and talent emergencies and people who used to use the word quick before asking something that would ruin every single person's day. And that part was fully awake. Delighted, quite frankly, thrilled to be useful again. So trash day became strategy. The driveway became terrain. The garbage can became a breach point, and I became, against my better judgment, the head of security for a Chobani crime scene. Let me walk you through what happened that Tuesday. By mid-morning, the situation had developed. And by the situation, I mean I had looked at a trash bag for too long and given it a plot. The plan, and I'm slightly embarrassed to tell you there was a plan, had 3 phases. Secure the bag, reinforce the perimeter, and transport the asset to the curb without giving the hypothetical raccoon community access to Greek dairy residue. Was that reasonable? In the strictest sense? No. But it was organized, and sometimes organization can masquerade as sanity if you don't look directly at it. That's the trap. A crisis-trained brain does not always care whether the stakes are real. It just wants stakes. So, I started with the bag. The single knot had failed before, and I accept that responsibility. Rookie mistake. Somewhat embarrassing. This time, I went double bag and then a twist tie, because apparently I had crossed over into a version of myself who believes raccoons respect redundancy. We have a very excited mockingbird who is making this really, really fun. So I found the bungee cord. I do not know where this bungee cord came from or what it originally meant to secure. All I know is that on this Tuesday morning, it became a part of my security apparatus. For one brief second, I admired myself, and that may be the most humiliating part. I looked at the bag and the can and the bungee cord and thought, pretty solid work. As if I had just solved logistics for a live award show instead of preparing trash for pickup. And then came transport. The driveway is not long in any impressive way. is just a driveway. Concrete, a little gravel, and enough distance to make a trash can feel like equipment. And I am walking in front of it, struggling, trying to act casual, as if I have not mentally promoted myself to field commander of municipal waste. And that is when I realized how much I wanted to win. Not at life, at trash. Still, the can made it, the bag made it, and the bungee cord held. And for one ridiculous second, I felt it. I hated how good it felt because it was funny, but it was also information. Then I saw the yogurt lid, 12 feet from the bin, licked completely clean. Now at this point, I was not in a reasonable relationship with the facts anymore. I was in a Tuesday, and on this Tuesday, the lid meant something. It meant I had secured the trash, but not the storage, which unfortunately is the entire point, because the raccoon, bag, and driveway is never really the opponent. The opponent was the part of me that still believes control is the same thing as safety. So yes, the trash made it to the curb. Technically, I won. But the yogurt lid was still there, gleaming in the daylight like a white, tiny flag from the universe saying, close. But you are not in charge, girl. And then I had to walk back up the driveway like a normal person. No music swelled, no neighbor slow clapped. No one from Waste Management appeared with a certificate of excellence. The trash was at the curb. That was it. And the day just kept going, just like that mockingbird. Intentional living is not about making every small thing meaningful until your life becomes one long inspirational caption. I am taking out the trash, and my body thinks this is a test. I am standing in broad daylight in the life I chose, and some part of me is still waiting for permission to stand down. That is not failure. That is information. So no, Tuesday did not transform me. It gave me a trash bag, a driveway, and one very clear piece of information. I am still learning how to live without turning every quiet thing into a crisis. And for now, that is enough. This is No Big Plans. I'll see you Friday. Shut up!